Hey guys, welcome to Not Suppressing This, where we invite you to take care of your emotions, especially if you've been holding back on them, with awareness and healing so that you could show up better for yourself and others in the most authentic way. I'm your host, Corie Chu, Reiki Master Teacher, Intuitive Energy Healer, and Personal Development Coach. So here we are, not suppressing this. Hey guys, welcome to the very first episode of Not Suppressing This. I've been wanting to do this podcast for so long, and years, in fact, and finally, I'm getting around to doing it. And I have to say, one of the biggest motivations is because my mentor, my late Sifu, passed away last year, about a year ago. And I remember when he passed away, one of the very first things I had said to myself is, if I can honor what he has taught me over these years well, then I won't be suppressing my grief towards his death. I will be able to flow with the grief or anger, frustration, all the emotions that come up when you experience loss. And yeah, I was very mindful. I was very committed to not wanting to suppress any emotions and just allowing them to surface. And so here I am a year later, and it's been definitely a journey. I've been really lucky where I have been able to give myself that time and space, awareness to introspect a lot whenever emotional challenges come up, whenever I feel like, oh, okay, today's like a particularly hard day, or I'm having a particularly hard moment. I think overall it's been quite a journey because this is something really new for me. Not suppressing my emotions around having lost someone I love and respect so much was new. I think we've all been through some form of challenge before, right? Whether it be breaking up in a relationship, and that's a form of grief, or not feeling seen, not feeling heard, not feeling validated, and losing of yourself, or feeling like you've lost a part of yourself, and having to hold back on who you truly are and what you truly feel. Those are all natural forms of suppression. Not everyone does it. Some people are really good at being able to express themselves, and it's something definitely to commend. But given 7-8 years ago when I first met my Sifu, he had said, "Hey, Corie, you have no boundaries." You need to go work on your boundaries. And I laughed because it was true. And I was very aware of what boundaries were. I suppressed a lot because I had poor boundaries. I gave way to others, not realizing I was giving my power away and feeling pretty shit because of it. And I was brilliant at holding emotions in. A lot of the times I felt unworthy and powerless and resentful, like I didn't have a choice whenever I chose to hold emotions in, because I gave way and didn't honor my own boundaries and suppressed a whole lot of emotions. And that was another lesson that my Sifu had taught. Happiness is a choice. I chose not to practice and honor my own boundaries and suppressed my emotions. So I caused the negative emotions within me. I caused them to come up and I held them in. And so one of the most beautiful gifts I had in life from him was to learn to really tend to those emotions that I've been suppressing in my body, in my mind, and how they've affected my emotional health and my thoughts, my behaviors, the way that I reacted to others. I came across that concept, I think, about 18, 20 years ago, but I didn't realize knowing what it was and actually practicing them much more was quite a difference. I think I definitely kidded myself thinking that I was practicing boundaries, but my late Sifu definitely saw the potential of practicing boundaries far more. And, he didn't hold my hand through the process, but he, in his own way, taught me, shared how, what are better ways to practice boundaries, not just as a teacher, but, he was a dad, he was a husband, he was a son, he was obviously a wonderful mentor, coach, and fantastic metaphysical healer, man of metaphysics and philosopher. He liked to call himself a linguist sometimes. Anyway, what I was able to see by example from him was the best teaching ever. And even though he called me out and said I had very, very bad boundaries, I could see how it was really murky for him too sometimes. And it made me realize, okay, boundaries is something that will continue evolving because we all change and we all respond to things really differently, different situations very differently. Everyone has different reactions and we're all at different places in life and we might just be handling it very differently. And therefore, the boundaries, the perimeters might need to change from time to time. But I think it was just first episode is a wonderful way for me to share as I reflect on how not suppressing my grief towards his passing was genuinely a testament to his teaching, his work, his ability to impact others. There's quite a community of his disciples and students, clients, friends, family members, of course. And it was a blessing to be able to really understand and know why we should be just really authentic about how we feel. But more importantly, as much as it is important to recognize how we feel and know that how we feel is probably pretty valid, but at the same time, maybe not. And that is something to be really honest and catch ourselves around. Let's say angry. Maybe someone pissed me off and it made me feel angry. Did that person purposely piss me off? Maybe not. What did he do that pissed me off? Was it an action or was it something that they said that rubbed me the wrong way? Was it something that that person said in passing very neutrally that rubbed me the wrong way? Right. And in that case, it's not their fault, right? It's an issue that I have internally. And one of the biggest lessons that our late mentor, Sifu, had taught us was we really have to be responsible for our own feelings because we might have feelings. We might choose to hold back. We might be suppressing them, but we can also have feelings and be very expressive and not suppress them. But then there's other things that might be going on while we are expressing them. For example, shame. We might be feeling really embarrassed by sharing how unhappy we are about a situation, and that might make us feel ashamed. And then you've got to process that, right? Or we could just be really responsible with how we feel and do some due diligence, check if those feelings are real. Are they projected? What's actually happening in reality? And the way we're responding, is it healthy? Is it healthier than where we were maybe a few weeks ago, a few months ago, a few years ago, because we might have been working on ourselves? Are we taking anything out on other people? Are we blaming people? And, whether or not you're saying it vocally, you might be suppressing those thoughts and emotions internally. And regardless, they're still there, right? And so that's why I really wanted to do this podcast because regardless of what we're holding back, thoughts, emotions, whatever, let's not. What if we became more responsible for them? What if we looked at them, saw these thoughts and emotions for what they are, and started really owning them, started owning that, hey, I'm feeling angry because maybe I'm already angry, or because that person said something that triggered something in me that made me angry. But that's my issue. That's my problem. And that's my responsibility to deal with that anger. Might have been saying something in passing that made me feel this way, right? You get what I mean? And so we got to be fair. And I had to really look at those layers of emotions a lot of the times when I'm working on clients or students, or when I'm talking to a friend, where we're having a heart to heart. Are those emotions or thoughts that they have been suppressing and are finally sharing real, true, projected, or super, super valid because it is, definitely what's happening, the reality? Are we taking things out on people? Are we feeling righteous? Are we being a diva with our emotions and feeling like our emotions are the priority? And considering how, when we're suppressing our feelings, and on another note, I want to highlight, when we suppress our thoughts or emotions, we're naturally holding back, right? And therefore, we're not able to share our true selves with another person in that relationship, whether it be a friend or boyfriend, girlfriend, husband, wife, partner, business partner. And is that right? Is that right in the sense of, is it okay that we're not being 100% truthful or authentic? If I'm constantly holding back about how I actually feel, that person will never know. And our relationship can only go so far. What if that person's also holding back? Then we're both holding back, playing off of each other's energy. And there's also a limitation to how far that relationship can go again. And so what if we just owned up to our feelings? We don't necessarily have to tell another person exactly how we feel about everything. I would say a lot of the times what we're holding back, it's really an issue with ourselves. And we need to unpack it first. We need to be honest and deal with it first before maybe bringing it to someone else's attention. And yes, of course, there are times where you may have to suppress your thoughts or emotions with really tricky situations with very close family members or your partner or a boss or colleague you see at work every day. If you're dealing with someone who's sick, who is mentally unwell, that's really tricky, and you may be suppressing a whole lot in the moment, but how are you dealing with it afterwards? How you can maybe not hold on to expectations as tightly, and just allowing that visit with someone who's not doing so well to just flow. If we can just have fun with that person and not hold back on any strong emotions, because there might not be any when we walk in there with a different mindset, with a playful mindset, then there's probably significantly less to suppress, right? So another thing to look at is our reaction to things and why we have a certain reaction to things, or why we have a certain response to something. Is it because we have a certain level of expectations of how things should be, or how things should look, or how a person should act, right? That's why we're here. Literally, this is why I'm doing this podcast, because there are so many layers of emotions, thoughts. Yeah, like so many things that we're constantly probably suppressing on a day to day without realizing. Even for anyone who's very vocal, very expressive, there's probably a few things that they may be holding back on, here and there. And the point is, there's always something that we might be holding back, maybe because of indoctrination. Oh, it's not polite to say something, or we should respect our elders and listen to them, and all these traditions and cultural expectations, and they're not necessarily true. And a lot of the times they stop us from being who we truly are. And that's another beautiful lesson that our late Sifu really woke us up with, realizing what has been indoctrinated and how that has prevented us from being our true selves. And so this podcast is very much dedicated to him, his work, his teachings, our group, our community, and all the people that I will be bringing on are people that I'd love to dive into these wisdomous moments. I love that word, wisdomous. It's not real, by the way. But if you've watched Friends, Joey used that word and it was hilarious. But yeah, just highlighting a lot of these wisdomous moments in life and just not suppressing them anymore, not suppressing emotions when they come up anymore, and just doing the very best to be authentic and open and real, introspect a whole lot, and share those conversations here. So I am so excited to share so much more with you and lots of friends that I am just so excited to bring on. And yes, to many more episodes ahead. We'll also be sharing how suppressing thoughts and emotions over time can affect us physically, mentally, spiritually, energetically, and emotionally in a lot more depth ahead. I can't wait to share more of those conversations here with you. We've reached the end of today's episode, and I hope it's helped you suppress a little less today. Thank you so much for listening. If you like what you're hearing, please hit subscribe and leave us a review. And if you're interested in one-on-one sessions or events, please visit CorieChu.com or DM me on Instagram at Corie Chu Healing. Bye for now.